We are going to finish up this unit looking at Protist and Fungi today. All right. We've already said that the kingdom Protista is the most diverse, because if it doesn't fit anywhere else, it gets shoved into this group. Okay? So for Protists, they can be animal-like, plant-like, or fungus-like, which means they are similar to one of those things, but they don't necessarily fit there. Ma'am?
Are you serious?
They don't fit into any group, but they do have some similarities. All right. Protists are eukaryotes, of course. All right. Means they have a nucleus. They're in the that's wrong. That should say what, not kingdom. It should say domain eukarya. But they don't fit anywhere else. So they get shoved into their own group. All right. If you look at all those pictures, do any of those things resemble each other? Do they look like the same organism? No. They're all different. Okay? Even this one picture here in the middle. These are all the same organism, but they're all different. Okay? Animal-like protists. We call them protozoans. All right? Proto for protist. Zoa comes from zoo, which is where we find animals. Okay? They are heterotrophs. They are single-celled. Right. They can move. That's what separates them, gets them out of the... They can't be plant, they can't be fungi because they can move, but they're single-celled. They can't be animals. Okay? We classify them by how they move. All right? First is with a flagella, like this guy down here at the bottom. See this little tail coming out? They have that tail, that's how they move. It's like a propeller behind them, pushes them through the water. Pseudopods, we talked about pseudopods. What has a pseudopod? What one organism that we've talked about uses pseudopods? Amoebas. All right. Amoebas use pseudopods. And then cilia, little hairs. This guy up here actually uses a pseudopod. You see it starts out real small, stretches himself out, moves him around wherever he needs to go. So we see similarities to animals, but what one thing keeps them out of the animal kingdom? They're single-celled. Right? Animals are not single-celled, so they have to have their own group, and that's what puts them into the Protista. Even this guy, that's an ugly critter. Has all this cilia around him. That's how he moves. All right. One single cell. Some can cause disease. Here are three of the big ones that protists can cause. Malaria. All right. It's caused by the Plasmodium protist. Spread through mosquitoes. How does a mosquito spread disease? It's sticking its stinger into many different organisms. And does it clean its stinger before it does it? Nope. So what's on the outside of it? Blood from other organisms. And so when it stings you, what's it put? It mixes your blood with blood from other organisms, whatever it stung. Okay? Because that's its food, is blood. It doesn't go and wash its face off every time it eats. So therefore it's going to have some food left over on it. That gets transferred. All right. Sleeping sickness, all right, caused by trypanosoma, spread by flies. Do flies bite? Yeah, flies bite. All right. That's why cows hate flies. All right. That's why we have to treat cattle for flies so that they don't get bit. And they spread disease. What do flies usually gather around? What do you see? A whole bunch of flies.
The dead bodies.
Yeah, dead things. What's in dead things? Bacteria, all different kinds of stuff. All right. Flies spread numerous diseases. This is one that is a protist disease that's spread. Giardia. Giardia is spread through water. All right. Standing water, stagnant water can get this protist in it. How many of you have ever, and we've all done it, go play in nasty water in the ditch, or you do it as a little kid, you don't think about it. It's, oh, water, let's go splash in it. That water's been sitting there, standing there. There's all kinds of stuff in that water. Okay. Plant-like protist. What makes them like plants? They do photosynthesis. Okay. Single-celled, colonial, or multicellular. What this means is they can be one cell. They can be one cell that live in a bunch together. Like this right here would be colonial. There's a bunch of different cells that are all attached, living together. Those are still separate organisms, but they live in a colony. Or it can be multicellular, like this guy over here. Okay. No roots, no stems, no leaves. What's the only thing that makes them plant-like? Photosynthesis. That's the only thing. Everything else doesn't fit. Okay? This algae right here, it seems like a plant. People think it's a plant, but it's not a plant because it doesn't have all these other things. It doesn't have roots, stems, and leaves like a plant does. Okay? This guy does photosynthesis. Does it look like a plant? It's a single-celled organism. It does photosynthesis. Nothing like a plant, though. All right. All right. The multicellular part of that we classify by their color, by their pigments. This right part of that we classify by their color, by their pigments. This right here, anybody know what this is? It's red algae. Red algae is a bad thing. Green algae contains chlorophyll A and B. It's what makes it green, like a plant. Okay. Brown algae contains chlorophyll C. It doesn't have the A and B to make it look green. And then red algae contains just chlorophyll A. All right, and this extra protein. I mess this word up every time. Phycoerythrin. All right. So there's green algae and red algae. Anybody know what red algae does? It sucks the oxygen out of the water. That's why red algae is bad. All the fish living around there have no oxygen. They die. All right, Euglena. Euglena is a plant-like protist. It's unicellular, it's motile. That makes it not like a plant. The big thing here is it does photosynthesis. It has this little eye spot right here. Each one of them has it. It's like a solar panel built into the organism. Okay? What?
Why do fish need oxygen if they live underwater?
Because they're animals. They need oxygen.
There's no oxygen.
They separated.
What do you think H2O is? There's oxygen in the water. Okay. These guys are autotrophs and heterotrophs. When there's no sun, they can go feed on other single-celled organisms. But when there's sun, they all come to the surface of the water and absorb sunlight. At night, when the sun goes down, they go back deep in the water and find other food sources. All right? That eye spot detects the light. It's a sensor for light. So when the sun comes up, these all come to the surface. Makes them prey for other organisms, but also gives them an easy way to recharge their batteries. Okay. So that's plant-like. Fungus-like. Protist, decomposed dead organisms. They are similar to fungus, except for two things. They can move. Fungus can't. And their cell walls are made of cellulose. What do we know about fungi? They have chitin in their cell wall. Okay. Slime molds and water molds are examples of fungus-like protists. They don't fit into the plant category because they don't have root, stems, leaves, all that stuff. They don't fit into the fungus category because they can move and they have cellulose. So they get thrown in here.
Fungi.
This is a slime mold. It's a spongy, brain-like looking thing. Grows on decomposed, dead trees, dead leaves, things like that. You'll see this stuff growing on the sides of it. All right. Kind of looks like a little pinkish brain growing on the side of the dead stump. All right. That's a slime mold. Water molds are freshwater. All right. Means you can find them in lakes, streams, and rivers. The greatest one we've ever seen was in the 1800s, caused the potato famine in Ireland. It killed all the potato plants. All right. Where did it come from? How do they make those plants grow? What do they use for water? Back then they didn't have wells and all that. They used creeks and streams and lakes and bucketed water to it. Well, that mold got from the lake or the stream to the crops, killed all the crops. Okay. Made of branching strands of cells. This is what the potatoes look like when they pulled them up. This is a microscopic view of it. Looks like a bunch of just filaments, right? A bunch of hairs, but it's actually a water mold. Okay. They can also kill fish. They will get inside the fish and they start growing inside the fish and kill the fish. Questions about protists? All right, so we are going to go to fungi now. All right, so fungi. What's the main thing we know about fungi? How can we tell them from everything else? What one characteristic? They have chitin, all right? Chitin separates them from other things. They can be decomposers, pathogens, mutualists. They can do a lot of things, all right? They are our main decomposers. These guys growing on the side of this dead log here are breaking that material down. All right? Do we need that to happen?
Yes.
Yeah, what's that doing for the environment?
Picking better soil.
Yeah, it's putting nutrients back in there. Dead organisms, no matter what it is, when they decompose, they put nutrients back into the soil. All right? They make the environment better. All right? It's the circle of life. We use that term. It turns nutrients to the soil. They can damage, or this is where the pathogen part comes in, damage and kill living organisms. You ever seen these guys growing on the side of a tree or growing on the side of a plant? I have to deal with this. I have roses all in front of the house. They grow on the side of it. You got to go cut them off. You know, they will choke out and kill the plant. They'll even grow on the side of a wooden structure like a house or a building. All right, because what is that wood?
Dead.
It's a dead tree, and they will dissolve, decompose your house. All right, you got to keep them off of the house. All right. They are multicellular except for one. We should know that one. It is yeast. All right. Cell wall made of chitin. All right, here's your yeast on the left. We got our mushrooms in the middle, and we got bread mold. Okay. Now with bread, once you see one spot of mold in that bread loaf, what should you do?
Throw it away.
Throw the entire loaf away. The entire loaf will turn. It will get it because once it's in there, you shake the bag, what happens? Mold transfers through spores. When air passes over it, it blows the spores everywhere. So if one piece of bread has mold, and you shake the bag and try to open the bag and then you see it's got mold, what's that do to all those spores? It pushes them out through the air in that bag, and they're going to land on every other piece of bread in there. The whole bag is going to end up being moldy. You can pull that one slice out, throw it away. Guess what? Tomorrow there's going to be another one. Maybe two that have it. It's going to keep going. Okay? Once it's there, it's there. Fungus can act as pathogens. We know this. Humans. What is this? That's athlete's foot. All right? That organism is living on you, eating your skin, eating your tissue. Do we only get fungi pathogens on our feet?
No.
No. You ever had guys, girls, doesn't matter, had a yeast infection?
No.
That is a fungus growing on you, eating your tissue. All right?
What's a yeast?
Huh?
He's one with yeast infection.
There's a bunch of different types of yeast infections that humans get.
Some guy got a yeast infection in his mouth.
Yep. Any dark, warm, moist place, yeast will grow. All right. Plants can get it. All right. This is Dutch elm disease. It's where that fungus grows underneath the bark and it eats away at the tree. All right. You see all the little lines on there? That's where the fungus has eaten underneath that tree. It will kill the tree eventually. All right. It will survive for a little while. You notice the tree starts deteriorating. Eventually it will die. All right. So they can act as pathogens. They can also be mutualists. What's that word mean? They're in a relationship with something else, and it is benefit to both. All right. Lichens. Lichens are a fungus, considered a fungus, but it's mainly a fungus working with algae. All right. So we got, this is what it looks like on a branch of a tree. You see the lichens growing. This is not just one organism. It's two organisms working together. Okay? The algae is a food source for the fungus. Temporarily, the algae gets what from it? They get a place to live. All right? The algae keeps reproducing. Some of it gets eaten by the fungus. The circle, we keep going. They both work together for that benefit. All right? Mycorrhiza is a formation between a fungus and a plant. The fungus provides protection for the plant. The plant provides food and sustenance for the fungus. Why would this, if we looked at this, why would this provide protection for the plant? That organism tastes bad. When insects land on it, do they want to eat that? No. They can't get to the plant because of the fungus growing on the plant. So it protects the plant. The fungus gets some food source from the plant. So they both are working together. All right. Fungus can also work with insects. There are certain insects that carry fungus. The fungus lives and grows on the insect and in the insect. Doesn't hurt the insect. It actually provides a protection because they taste bad. All right? Other things don't want to eat them because they taste bad. And lastly, We use them for food. We use them for antibiotics. All right. Some of you like these guys. I don't know how. I can't stand mushrooms. I know that you're eating a fungus, and I just can't do that. All right. Some are used for antibiotics. Penicillin is one example of an antibiotic made by a fungus. All right. Any questions?